WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM's Master of Business Administration is designed to accommodate the career needs of professionals across a variety of work organizations. More information at business.udmercy.edu.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I am Tia Graham, and all week I've been joined by Vicki Thomas. She's the Director of Communications for the City of Detroit. Vicki, thank you so much for being here once again. And what's happening on the program today?
Well, on the program today, Tia, we'll discuss a new smart highway that's being developed along I-94 between Detroit and Ann Arbor with the company leader who's spearheading that project.
But first, the summer in Detroit is a place truly where dancing in the public is very welcome when live music is involved. That's especially true for the Concert of Colors, which is celebrating its 33rd birthday this year with a theme of peace, love, and understanding. The first event back in 1991 was at Shane Park, now the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater. It was a day long and had relatively a small crowd. But by 1999, nearly 10,000 fans began making it a ritual to attend Concert of Colors every year. And by 2019, the concert had expanded to 9 days. And the Concert of Colors, now in partnership with WDET, is underway. And joining us now on the show to chat more about 33 years of Concert of Colors is Ismael Ahmed, the founder of the festival and the host of This Island Earth on WDET every single Sunday. Ismael, welcome to the Metro.
Well, thank you. And hi, planetary citizens. How you doing?
Yes,
Great.
I love hearing that. So, Ismael, just give us a little bit. 33 years of Concert of Colors. What's so exciting about it 33 years later?
You know, we still soldier on, doing the music, bringing music from all over the world and all over Detroit. It's as much about Detroit as it is the world. And so every culture gets represented eventually, every country, all of the dance music, all of the love, all of the culture in one place. And Detroit is a great place, but it still has that history and, honestly, the quality of segregation. And this is a way to break through, bring people from all of those communities together to party with each other and eventually to love each other.
Yes, indeed. You're right. We still do see the pockets throughout the Metro Detroit area that we're seeing, like you said, segregated areas throughout the city. And one thing that you do see when you head to Concert of Colors in the Cultural District is the diversity of those who are going, the concert goers, as well as the acts. I was very surprised when I saw gospel last year, and I saw a whole lineup of gospel music, and I said, what? But we are in the city of Detroit, and that makes sense to have all music represented. So as for 33 years, once again, of memories and performances, how do you describe the week to folks who may not know what it is?
Well, it's a combination of peoples and institutions and activities that's aimed at bringing people together. So it's like many festivals, food and children's activities and family-oriented events, but this one's free, and there is very little free in this world anymore, and that includes music. I mean, you don't have to pay $2,500 for a ticket. You don't have to, beg to get in, and so the Concert of Colors really is something that provides real access for real people.
And how do you select the talent for the Concert of Colors? I would imagine that that's a huge job.
Well, curation of the Concert of Colors is really, it's real joy. There is so much great music being made right here in Detroit and in the world, and people don't always have access to it. So I ferret around. I go to record stores. I go to concerts all over the world. I try to find every opportunity to learn, and I apply that to my radio show, This Island Earth, but also to the Concert of Colors, So, for instance, if there is a techno band out of England, like the Trans Global Underground that people aren't familiar with, we want to bring them here. Or a band like Macumba from Zimbabwe, or a couple Haitian bands that will be performing that people haven't had a chance to see. But there's also great music here. There's one of, I think, the best blues musicians in the world is Robert Jones.
Oh, I love Robert Jones.
And Robert,
one of our former colleagues.
That's right. Robert and his family are killer, and most Detroiters don't see them. You know, they play in certain venues.
Yeah, I went to see him in Hamtramck once.
Yeah. I was with him yesterday and with his family, and they performed on television as part of getting out the word about Concert of Colors. They were wonderful. They were moving, and he preaches the music in a way that nobody does. Exactly. So we want to bring all that in. And then we have Don Was, who, is Mr. Detroit in so many ways, but he's the biggest record producer in the world.
Wow.
So he knows, he did the last 8 Rolling Stones records. Mm-hmm. He works with Willie Nelson. I can go on for 30 minutes. But he loves Detroit. And so his review is always reflective of the great music in the city.
It's so awesome too, seeing Don walk in, and you're just like, "There's Don Was. There is Don Was." It's just the amount of people that we get to actually interact with.
And he
here.
was really nice. He looked over and waved.
Super kind, because he's a Detroiter and he loves Detroit and he loves it. So right now we're chatting with Ismael Ahmed, the founder of A Concert of Colors and the host of This Island Earth. You can hear it every single Sunday right here on WDET FM. But as we go around this particular time of year, you talk about the theme. Why is this theme so special?
We had a different theme. The Don Was Review has a theme every year, like the music of the rebellion, so music from that period, or, the music of John Lee Hooker. Mm-hmm. And this year we were going to do something. I'm not going to tell you because we're going to do it one day.
Okay.
But it occurred to some of the people working on the Concert of Colors. Actually, Chris Taylor called Don and said, "Why are we doing this with all that's going on, in the Middle East and in Africa and in Haiti and so much more?" And Don goes, "You're right. You're right." And so he said to me, "I'm going to change what we're going to do for the review." And I said, "I think that's great." And he's disturbed about what he sees going on, as all of us are. And we adopted the theme for the entire Concert of Colors, because it's the right thing to do. We need to be together. We need to love each other, and we need to express that love.
Just want to throw the theme out there one more time. It is peace, love, and understanding for this year's Concert of Colors. And like you said, so many things are happening across the globe. Turmoils everywhere that you look right now, especially if you're on social media, you're looking at the news, you see it happening across the globe. So if you can go into the importance of Concert of Colors, having the peace, love, and understanding theme, and the need to connect people through music.
Mm-hmm. And Concert of Colors, in a way, has always been like that. We've never had an altercation in 33 years.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Thousands of people have attended. Not one time has there been a problem. The vibe is exactly that. It's peace, love, and understanding, but it's also fun and get to know each other and get to know each other's cultures. And that's... I don't know what more you can ask for.
I know.
How many people attend each year?
We've been at our height during the centennial for tricentennial for Detroit. We had 100,000 people, but we had $1 million then too, so we could bring everything in from a Mung Leaf player to Ray Charles.
Yeah.
And for the last several years, we were actually virtual for during COVID, thanks to WDET and WPBS, almost 200,000 people attended virtually.
Nice.
But now we have a presence of about, I don't know, 30 to 50,000 people over all of the venues, and there's so many venues, and then we have, virtual attendance as well on television and, of course, here on WDET.
That is really cool. And if you can go into the venue like we've been talking about, it's in the cultural district. So as you're walking around, you're kind of setting up that scene for folks as they're in Midtown, Cass Cordover, in Midtown in that area. You're walking by the DIA, you can see like stages set up and food trucks. You're walking near the Science Center, there's stages and people walking around and activities. So if you can just lay out the venue for folks.
Right. I mean, we're at Charles Wright on Friday. Outdoor stage there. We're at the DIA, 3 stages there, actually 4, on Saturday and Sunday. We're at the Historical Museum. We'll be doing a tribute to the MC5, John Sinclair. We'll be at the Symphony. We'll be at the Scarab Club. We'll be at the Hellenic Museum. And we'll be at the Quinder Cut. We'll also be at the Arab American National Museum tonight.
In Dearborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Off of Michigan Avenue. Really, really nice. And what kind of performance will we be seeing there tonight?
Well, it'll be a workshop about the question of freedom and artists, and there will be performances there as well. And then later tonight, we're going to be at a club with a Arab hip-hop group with North African women. It's an all-women's group performing. Oh, the Spotlight Club. Luckily, my wife is here with me, and she whispered over and said Spotlight Club.
Yeah,
And all that's free.
I love that. Shout out to Rula David for inviting you all to Spotlight. Love that so much. But as we continue on, once again, this is a free event. How is it free?
We spend most of the year going out there and asking people to sponsor what we do. A lot of foundations support historically, though not so much this year, and a lot of small sponsorship. I'm talking $5, $10, $20,000. Individuals, I want to do a shout out for Mark Bernstein and his wife, who have supported the Concert of Colors for many, many years. And then we're underpinned by 2 groups, a group of arts institutions who throw in a big piece of the dollars, and a group called the Cultural Exchange Committee, which is made up of 40, 50 groups across Detroit, everything from Tribes for Vibes to the Urban League. So, all that helps, but we have big news for you. Next year, we will receive legislative money for $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Thanks to Stephanie Chang, also Mary Kavanaugh, and Veronica.
Kleinfeld, Veronica Kleinfeld.
Yeah, she's actually the mother of my daughter-in-law.
Oh.
So they've gotten us $1 million next year, but that's not the end of the good news.
Okay.
They got us it ongoing.
That
so
is
every
incredible.
year going forward, you're going to have $1 million for
dollars to
Concert
work
of
with.
Colors.
Every year. I've never even heard of that kind of thing happening. So that's pretty amazing.
It really is. Congratulations.
And we will be able to do so much more for Detroit and with Detroiters.
I mean, right now I'm thinking oh my gosh, we're getting close to the end after this, but just, for you with this $1 million that you're expecting to have every single year going forward, in what ways do you see it changing? Just if you could give me 30 seconds, in what ways do you see adding new things to the Concert of Colors?
Well, we'll be able to bring in just about anyone we want to bring in. That's always a joy. But we'll also be able to grow the children's activities and other kinds of activities that are so important to families. while I'm on the air, I don't want to forget to say this. If you want to know what's going on with the Concert of Colors, you need to go to Concert of Colors, one word, concertofcolors.com.
That is Ismael Ahmed, the founder of Concert of Colors, which we now know will be around for the foreseeable future, and the host of this Island Herb, Ismael Ahmed. Thank you so much for being here on the Metro today.
It's been great talking with you and great seeing you again after all these years.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, we'll hear about free programming that's being offered at the Michigan Science Center this week.
This is the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham, and I am here with Vicki Thomas. She is the Director of Communications for the City of Detroit. Joined me all week long. Vicki, it's been a blast.
It really has been a blast. I've enjoyed my time here, coming home to WDET after decades.
I mean, honestly, just learning about all the things that you've done here and all the things you've done in this industry in general. It's just, once again, it's just like, thank you for taking time out of your busy life to be here with us this
And it's
week.
great to see you in action, Tia. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you so much. It's wild, though. It's wild. Once again, I'm trying to wrap my hands around everything that's been happening this week. But you said it a little bit earlier. The Michigan Science Center, it has special programming. It's partnering with the Concert of Colors to offer free museum days for concert goers. Today and tomorrow, the Science Center's programming will include a laser show, arts and craft projects. And I spoke with Dr. Christian Greer, the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. We started this conversation discussing the center's programming during Concert of Colors, of course, and the importance of learning about the science behind music and sound. We are talking about the world-class cultural district that we have here in the city of Detroit, and I think about the immersive experiences that guests get to have when they go to a place like the Science Center, the Michigan Science Center. So what are some of the activities that are going to be offered to guests? I know I saw that you had African dance lessons, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, we try to do a lot of things that are a little bit outside of the norm for the Science Center. And, it's like we use the metaphors of dance to talk about how the planets revolve around the sun. We use the metaphor of music to understand chemistry. You've heard these kinds of connections before. So being the backdrop for these kinds of things is something that we don't always really talk about, but I think it's a great way to be inspired by it. And when you think about some of the great scientists like Newton and others, they really thought of the universe in the form of waves. And we think about music as you hear tones in music, both melodies and harmonies. Harmony is a vertical aspect of music, and it's just kind of an interesting thing how they come together. And then you think about your math classes where you learned about sine, cosine, and all that. You wonder what all that was about? Okay, they're waveforms. And these waveforms are how we hear sound. There's a vibration in the medium, which is our air. And if you've ever looked at a speaker up close, you actually see it vibrating. And it's vibrating, making those tones, those sounds. And when you look at a guitar string up close, you see it moving and vibrating. Well, everything has a resonant frequency and a way that it vibrates in the universe, from atoms to buildings. And so it's a great thing for people to get excited through music and dance and other kinds of artistic expressions to see how those things play out in the universe.
If you could just go into a little bit more, like, should people know about tickets? What did you know about some of the programs that they can see in terms of the laser show or even the show featuring Martha Reeves?
We have many more science stage shows than we normally would have, and they happen on the half hours, so 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, and 4:30. So basically, if you show up at noon to the end of the day, you'll be getting, within the hour, another stage show. So that's going to be exciting. The 4D in Engineering Theater, we have a 7-minute film on Martha Reeves that's going to be going throughout the day, which is a lot of fun, and people get a chance to get into that theater, which has really good sound. Above and Beyond is our feature exhibition. So if you have someone in your family that's interested in aerospace, wants to be a pilot or an astronaut, or just curious about flight, this is the place to be. It features an exhibit where you can learn how to fly in formation like a bird, and it also has, if you have somebody in your family that has the need for speed, they can learn how to design a jet aircraft and fly it in one of our simulators here. So it's a fun way of exploring aerospace and engineering. Arts and crafts, as we talked about earlier, will promote sustainability and creativity. And then we have a 60-minute dance lessons with the African dance on Thursday and Latin dance on Friday. So there's going to be a ton of stuff for people to really see during this period, and we're just excited to participate in it. We also have other things going on in our IMAX theater, which includes our laser show. So some people don't know we have a laser that we installed during the pandemic, actually, to find another way of using the theater. So that's a fun thing. And the planetarium shows are also on the half hour. So you get a chance, if you miss one, you can go to something else. Just come down and have fun at the Science Center during Concert of Colors. Why not?
That was Dr. Christian Greer, President and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. The Science Center is free today and tomorrow during the Concert of Colors Festival. This is The Metro. Once again, this is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham here with Vicki Thomas, Director of Communications for the City of Detroit. And we've been talking about programming at the Michigan Science Center, but there's a lot of other cool events happening in the Detroit area.
Here's one of them, Tia. The Cranbrook Art Museum in Bloomfield Hills has a new wave of exhibitions, and it's all about Cuban design. A modernist regime, Cuban mid-century design, is open now and will be on display through September. Cranbrook curator Laura Mott has been working on these exhibits for years. She spoke with WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper about why a modernist Cuban exhibit makes sense in Michigan.
So currently at Cranbrook Art Museum, the entire museum, the upstairs, is taken over by Cuba. Half of the museum is a historic mid-century design show called A Modernist Regime, Cuban Mid-Century Design. You'll kind of see a lot of these objects from the late 60s, 70s that were produced primarily in Havana. For some of these objects have never left the island before, so it's a really unknown part of design history. And then complementing that are two contemporary art shows under sort of a Cuban contemporary lens. One is a solo show by Marco Castillo, who is the primary collector of mid-century design, and it informs his work directly. And his exhibition is called The Hands of the Collector. And then there's another exhibition called Cuba Dispersa, which has 6 commissions by Cuban contemporary artists, all of which are now in exile. And that exhibition deals with the fight for artistic freedom under the current authoritarian government in Cuba.
I'm sure the question some people would say, why so much Cuba at Cranbrook? What's the connection here?
So I first started doing research in Cuba in 2017 for an exhibition I did in 2019 called Landlord Colors. And Cuba was one of the focuses of my research. And I encountered Marco Castillo during that time. And I was sitting on these chairs in his studio. And I was like, this is interesting. I don't know anything about this design history. And learned that no one really knew about the design history. No one had written about it or spent any time really framing what was happening within the design world of Cuba into the larger narrative. And to me, since Cranbrook is so important within the history of American modernism, it's really important that there's a responsibility when you play that kind of role within design history. And this was an opportunity to diversify the design canon and to really add to it.
Yeah, that was the connection I definitely saw in my mind walking through these exhibitions. I was like, okay, well, modernism has played such a big role in Michigan, but I think for audiences, this will be kind of a new dose for them. What do you hope that they take away?
Well, I hope they understand an appreciation for even the diversity within modernism. For instance, a lot of this furniture is created for a tropical environment, and kind of even seeing the comparisons and the relationships between the kind of design that was coming out of Michigan in the mid-century and directly from Cranbrook. But I also think there's just a larger, fascinating story here where what happens in the mid-century of design in Cuba really parallels what happens politically within the country. So at the beginning, right after the revolution, there's this utopic thinking. There's all these ambitions of creating this new society, and design plays a role in that. And then the closer the Castro regime gets to the USSR, they shut down all of these design initiatives. And I think kind of taking it to the present day, really understanding what a dictatorship looks like, and how these artists and designers are really advocating for freedom. It's a really amazing story, and I think that's one of the reasons why we really want to show this arc from the mid-century historic moment to the present day.
Laura, I think it's also fair to warn people before they go to these exhibitions that if you are a fan of this stuff, this furniture in any way, you are going to be very, very jealous that it's not in your home.
Yes, absolutely.
That was the head curator at Cranbrook Art Museum, Laura Mott. She spoke with WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper about their latest exhibits, including a modernist regime, Cuban mid-century design. The new shows will be on display through September.
We'll see a high of 75 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, Friday, a chance of, sunny skies tomorrow with a high of 80. We don't see any rain this weekend at all, actually. So Saturday, mostly sunny, a high temperature of 84. And Sunday, temperatures are expected to reach 85 degrees and partly cloudy. Beautiful weather this weekend for a concert of colors.
And in the news, a jury could deliver a verdict today in the murder trial of Michael Jackson Bolanos. He's accused of stabbing Detroit synagogue leader Samantha Wohl to death last October. Jury deliberations have been deadlocked since last Friday. Jurors have not been able to reach a unanimous decision. The judge says if they still can't reach a unanimous decision today, she'll declare a hung jury. Coming up, we'll talk about the development of a smart highway along I-94.
Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I am Tia Graham, joined by Vicki Thomas. She is the Director of Communications for the City of Detroit and the first Black woman in radio in Michigan Broadcast Hall of Fame. So once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tia. It's been a nice week, a nice break from the monotony of my regular days.
I would think it would be very busy. I would think it would be a very busy job.
It is. It definitely is. Yeah, I got up at 5 o'clock this morning and probably won't get home until 9 o'clock tonight. But that's not the typical day. This is just one of the tough days right here. Oh. And Tia, a lot of our products do more than they did decades ago. Consider the items that we have become used to, like they become smart, like our smartphones, your television, and maybe even your washing machine and dryer. Whether it's making things safer, increasing connectivity, or making things simpler, these technological advances often improve products. But there's one piece of technology that could use a lot of improvement, and that's our roads. Michigan's roads are known for being plagued with potholes and for fatalities. Over the past few years, driving in the state has become more dangerous. According to a recent national report, traffic fatalities in Michigan increased from 985 to over 1,100 from 2019 to 2022, and they remained above 1,000 in 2023. The company Cavenue, in partnership with the Michigan Department of Transportation, or MDOT, hope to change that. The company is developing the world's first automated vehicle corridor on I-94. And this month, the first stage of the Smart Highway, as it's being called, became operational. To discuss this Smart Highway and what it does, we have Tyler Duvall here. He is Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Cavenue, a company that builds smart highways. Tyler, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
I am so fascinated by this, so let's jump right into this conversation. But before getting into the project itself on I-94, tell us a little bit about your company, Cavenue.
Yeah, so by the way, you just gave a better product definition than I've ever given myself around why we started. I got to get a recording of that. But it was, I mean, honestly, we kind of looked at the landscape of roadways. I've been in transportation for 20 years, and we met with a bunch of people, and we had a lot of investors and excited parties who said, look, roads are not performing today. They're not safe. They're inefficient. They're unreliable. They're congested, as you said. But in addition, we have this wave of smart vehicles coming to market in the next 5 to 10 years. By the way, many on the road already, but even more intelligence coming, and roads are not remotely prepared for that either. So we have this twin problem of underperforming roads today, combined with this innovation that's coming in vehicles. And we thought, hey, we got to really modernize our road system because they need to be future proofed. These vehicles need to be able to function on these roadways and communicate with them. And that was the problem statement that we used when we launched it 4 years ago. We picked Michigan because it's the home of the auto industry, home of innovation on so many dimensions. The governor and Ford Motor Company were really excited to partner with the project. And so we said, let's go do it on one of the most important roads in Michigan, I-94.
And I'm just curious, I have to ask you, when did you just say with the group of people, I'm assuming, hey, let's build smart highways? I mean, when did this journey begin?
Well, like I said, I've been in transportation a really long time. I think just the increasing problems of these roadways. But I think really the inflection point for us was the vehicles and all of the innovation that's coming into the vehicles. Obviously, electric vehicles have gotten a lot of the attention, but with the really bigger wave, if I'm being honest with you, is technology on board to allow either driverless or assisted driving vehicles with computers, really changing safety, reliability, efficiency, and unlocking a whole different way of travel. That was really starting to pick up speed 5 years ago. Obviously, Ford and GM have announced huge ambitions to modernize their vehicles with advanced technologies, and so that in the industry was the push, and everything happening around the roadway was the push for us to say, hey, let's go get in the game here.
All right, and let's turn to the I-94 project itself. What is the smart highway that's being constructed there, and what kind of information are we supposed to learn from it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, look, I think the simplest way to think about it is there are two major problems. There's not enough information coming off the roadway to drivers or to the DOT to intervene, to manage incidents, to understand risks ahead of where they can see themselves. So there's no information off the roadway. That's what we call our digital twin. So that's a combination of smart sensors and software. Sensors on the road, software platform that's using artificial intelligence and machine learning to crank out all kinds of insights around what we can see on the roadway today, and then provide that information directly to the DOT and then ultimately directly to drivers, whether those drivers are human drivers or robot drivers. We're kind of agnostic to that. We just know whoever is commanding the vehicle needs more information to make better decisions. So that's the digital side of the company. The problem, though, is that's not enough. As you see on 94 every day, you got a lot of debris, you got a lot of hazards, you got pavement issues, as you've already noted. And so the civil side of it matters, too. So if you look at the pilot that we just deployed on I-94 for the 3-mile stretch near the airport, we did a major civil upgrade, too. So we put a high-friction surface treatment on the pavement, which is much, much safer. So if anybody's out there at night, hopefully you're seeing a significantly better driving experience at night for those 3 miles. We've got guardrails that are modernized. We basically took an end-to-end view and said this whole problem with roadways is a combination of bad information and bad, operational and design parameters on the road.
And will that extra layer on the freeway, will it stand up to Michigan winters?
That was the point, right? So absolutely. And I think, look, long term, MDOT, by the way, is one of the national leaders on many fronts. They're looking at continuous ways to, improve pavement quality. But I think what we brought to the table is, like I said, it's an integrated problem. It's not just civil modernization or better information. It's both, and they both are, problems right now in causing vehicles to have issues on the road. And as you asked at the beginning, if we don't get ahead of this curve with all these advanced cars, they're going to have a bigger problem. And Ford obviously is an investor in our company and a great partner. So it's been great to have a technical collaboration with a company like that that's pushing the envelope themselves.
And Tyler, how does a smart highway look, and what are the elements that describe it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, basically there's sensors every 200 meters. So for those of you in the Detroit metro area or in Ann Arbor, you can get out there, you can see it. It's going west, like I said, right by the airport near Ross.
Did we lose Tyler?
Seems like we lost Tyler.
All right. Well, folks, that was Tyler Duvall. He is Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Cavenue. His company is constructing smart technology along a section of I-94. Well, Tyler, I hope you're listening still. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Coming up on the Metro, we'll have a conversation about a new memoir from an artist and MacArthur Fellow, Aaron Dworkin. But first off, Vicky, Belle Isles Beach, it may be closed, but the giant slide will reopen tomorrow with new safety upgrades. Park officials closed the slide 2 years ago after viral videos showed people flying into the air and landing hard because there was too much wax on it. So hopefully...
You're going to rush out there to get on, right?
I'm first in line. Money in hand, I'm screaming, running up to the stairs.
Okay, you go right ahead.
I don't have enough deductibles on my health insurance to handle that fall if I fall too hard. So, yeah, definitely.
Well, I hope it's a lot better than it was, yeah.
Exactly. Really looking forward to it. And hopefully the kids are going to have a good time and the parents won't see any crying children anytime soon.
Or broken bones.
Or broken bones. No hospital visits, please. So we're really hoping that this does do us good this year. As well as a quick look at sports. The Lions will add Hall of Fame wide receiver Calvin Johnson to their Pride of the Lions display at Ford Field. The team will include his name among the greatest players in franchise history. Megatron, yeah, he deserves that.
He certainly does.
Yes, the induction ceremony will take place at halftime of Detroit's game against the Seattle Seahawks, and that's happening September 30th. I don't really want to talk about fall yet.
I know that kind of threw me for a loop too, but then I kind of got excited though. It's not that far away.
It's not that far away. Football season.
I can't wait.
I honestly really looking forward to football season. Hopefully the Lions do really big things. I mean, after last year,
I think we're going all the way.
We're going to keep speaking this into existence. Every time we are on the show, we're just going to speak that into existence.
Yes.
The Lions are going all the way. They're going to the Super Bowl this year. But once again, coming up, we're going to be joined by Aaron Dworkin, and we're going to learn a little bit more about his memoir and what poet journalism is. That's coming up on the Metro. On 101.9 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham, joined by Vicki Thomas, the Director of Communications for the City of Detroit, as well veteran journalist, Hall of Fame journalist here with us. And I'm just going to keep saying it. Thank you so much for being here with us.
You're quite welcome, Tia.
Indeed. So as we continue on and we think about just, living in the city of Detroit, living in Michigan in general, and thinking about the music we've been talking about today, Aaron Dworkin, he is no stranger to facing obstacles and challenges along his journey, overcoming stereotypes and outcasting due to the color of his skin within the industry. In his new memoir, Lessons in Gratitude, a memoir on race, the arts, and mental health, Dworkin explores his biracial background and growing up with white Jewish parents. In growing up, Dworkin uncovered a talent for music at the age of 5 when he first picked up a violin. It was then that he decided he would be a concert violinist one day. Since achieving that goal, he's performed around the world, become a MacArthur Fellow in 2005, and a Dean of the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance. He also founded Sphinx, an international nonprofit with a mission of transforming lives through the arts. Joining us now to discuss his life is Aaron Dworkin. Dworkin is currently a professor of arts, leadership, and entrepreneurship at the University of Michigan and a member of President Biden's Arts Policy Committee. He is also the host of Arts Engines, a one-of-a-kind online art show that gets 100,000 views weekly. Aaron Dworkin, welcome to the Metro.
Well, it is so great to join you. Thanks so much for having me.
Indeed. So why now? Why did you decide to release and write your memoir?
Well, it's really interesting, and I think it's, kind of mostly inspired by literally part of the title, why I put it there in terms of gratitude. Like, people often say, oh, you do these things as a social entrepreneur, or you have a show, or do these different things, or have this impact in community. But the reality is that there's a lot of people in the world who work hard. And so there's a lot of luck and a lot of things that I've been able to do in my life outside of the fact that I worked for it. And whether it's mentors who played a role in my life, role models who I had, people who were there for me, people who gave me guidance, people who gave me opened a door when there was no way on earth I could open the door for myself. And so I wanted to kind of try and capture a lot of those stories and kind of how this trajectory unfolded. And then I think the other aspect is that, along the way, I've had a number of struggles and challenges. And whether it was related to my own identity, which we can talk about, but also my mental health, there were times when at facing those challenges, and I felt like it's really important to share those stories, especially for those out there who also experience or feel those things and wonder whether they'll ever kind of find a day past them. And hopefully, in kind of sharing stories like this, together, we know that there can be a tomorrow after some of those challenges.
Yeah. So just if you can, go into what classical music is anyway, for those who may not understand what that term is, because it could be very loosely thrown over a lot of different genres. So what is classical?
Yeah, it's a great question, and some of the key work that I've done over the decades has hopefully been to redefine, because a lot of people would think, oh, it's kind of the Western music canon and just Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, Brahms, et cetera, and big orchestras and so on and so forth. But classical music goes far beyond that, and obviously we have voices of color, composers of color, going back to contemporaries of Mozart and even earlier, who've been creating extraordinary work. And so ever since, I started playing the violin when I was 5, it was this medium through which I could connect. There were times when I had things I was going through. There was no way I could verbalize it, certainly not in a productive way, probably just yelling or screaming, but I could get on my violin and express what I was going through in a way that could connect with other people. And so for me, that ability to do that, and especially the power of classical music, to bridge various barriers. You can have two people who might be diametrically opposed politically or from different, racial or ethnic backgrounds, but you come together and you experience a work by William Grant Still, or Roque Cordero or any other composers of color or otherwise, and create and experience this shared experience that cuts across any of those kind of, human barriers that we develop. So I believe music is incredibly powerful in that way, but classical music has not been fully representative of all of the parts of our country and the people who make up our country and genders who make up our country. And so a big part of Sphinx's work has been to try to affect that and impact that.
Indeed. Aaron Dworkin. Right now we're chatting with Aaron Dworkin, a professor of arts, leadership, and entrepreneurship at the University of Michigan and a member of President Biden's Arts Policy Committee. And we're also chatting right now because Lessons in Gratitude, a memoir on race, the arts, and mental health will soon be released. It's releasing next month, actually. So if we can go into just a little bit of your background, your adoptive parents, they play a huge role in your life, of course. What role do they play in your love for classical music?
I play the violin because of my adoptive mother. So the quick background is I was originally born on, of all days, 9/11, and in Monticello, upstate New York, and I was immediately given up for adoption. I was adopted by a white Jewish couple who were in sciences and who were behavioral scientists. and who already had a birth son, my older brother, who's now a cellular biologist at Columbia. So I was literally like the black sheep of the family, not only color-wise, but also, they were in science, right? And they were like, very thoughtful, methodical, analytic, and I was spontaneous and creative and, maybe a little more wild, right? And so fast forward 31 years, I'm reunited with my birth parents, my birth father, who's Black Jehovah's Witness, my birth mother, who's white Irish Catholic, who 3 years after giving me up for adoption, ended up getting back together, ultimately got married, and had another child who they raised, my full sister, Maddie, who practices law in New York, and we're incredibly close. So I have benefited from all of these different backgrounds that kind of comprise who I am, and they inform who I am. And when I was younger, it was rough. I was trying to figure out who I was, and I wasn't accepted by any group, if you will. And through that, though, I was able to find my own identity, and I talk about that a lot in the book.
And that's the one thing I really wanted to touch on was as you were growing up, like you said, it was hard for you to find a place or a space, no matter where you were going, where you were looking. You didn't look like those individuals within that group. So as you went through middle school, high school, and onwards to your early adult years, in what way did you continue to pursue, number one, classical music, but pursue this journey for identity?
Yeah, and it was tough. When I was 10 years old, I moved to Hershey, Pennsylvania. It was one black family in my school and me. Big afro, played the violin, last name Dworkin. They're like, who are you? What is this? And it was rough. I'd go, in the halls, and the other kids would come up behind me and grab my afro and go, give Dworkin the afro clutch, and grab my afro. And that is where I would turn to my violin. Right, because the other options I had to express myself would have, gotten me in trouble, right, or taken me down a wrong path or trajectory. But when I channeled that through the arts and through my discipline that I had on the violin, it actually could create something beautiful and actually further a career. So it really kept me close to my violin, and it was like this greatest constant in my life. And then that also evolved into beginning to use language. I started writing poetry at a young age, using language, but artistic, creative language, as opposed to just, belting something out, but trying to architect language in a way that could capture things that I was feeling with more than just the words themselves. And so that's where I also fell in love with poetry and ultimately became what I am today, a poet journalist, and sharing a lot of events and issues that face our society through that medium as well.
So, Aaron, unfortunately, we're running up against time here. I wanted to get a poem in there because you talked a little bit just now about poet journalism, but I want to make sure that we're sticking to the reason we're here right now is the Lessons in Gratitude, a memoir on race, the arts, and mental health. If you could just give us that final plug, that final push about the memoir, the importance of it, and are you going to do any book signings anytime soon in Michigan?
Right, yeah. So we haven't scheduled them yet, but definitely keep a lookout. Anyone can always go to my website, AaronDworkin.com. And also, of course, the book is Lessons in Gratitude and already pre-sale available on Amazon, et cetera. But one of the things, as I shared, I was a poet journalist. Yes. And so I wrote an initial poem relating to that, literally called The Poet Journalist. And so it talks about these key events throughout time, the economic crisis in 2008, 9/11, et cetera. And then even recently, the poem kind of ends with talking about George Floyd. And it's, I am the 9 minutes and 29 seconds that a black man donning a black tank top felt the knee of dispassionate authority on his full-throated neck before his life with voice was ground into silence that was heard and shook the sugar maple trees of Richmond, Virginia, and broke the blue wall more than any Afro pick with fist. I am the grist for bottled water office talk. I assist the memory to feel the moments lost. I am the emotion of every story missed. I am the words the newsprint failed to list. I am our soul we must enlist. I am the poet journalist.
Aaron, thank you so very much. Aaron Dorkin, a professor of arts and leadership entrepreneurship at U of M. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
This is WDET FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversations. Vicki and I will be back tomorrow.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new master's degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. More information at business.udmercy.edu.